What's up everybody, my name is Gamerslasher and welcome back to my channel where I am now reacting to more SCPs. Once again, you can say this is season 2 of Gamerslasher SCP reactions. And what's going on everybody? Hopefully you guys were doing well because I definitely was. And yeah, I'm back. So without further ado, let's roll that intro. Oh yeah, and let's get into SCP-049. So this video is going to be kind of different, guys. We're doing 20 minutes on this. So at around 20 minutes, then we're going to do a part 2. So without further ado, as you already know, hit that like button if you're really messing with this reaction video and me. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Aight. So, yeah, if you guys want part 2, I'm gonna need to see them likes go up, bro, and them subscribes, man. So, yeah, let's get into it. 20 minutes, man. This is an hour-long video, so we're gonna have, parts. Man, I've waited so long. Thank you, Tats Top Videos. Thank you. I've waited so long for this.
Let's get this over with.
Sir, O5 Council must never—
Direct orders from the Council. My expendability has been reached, it seems.
Sir! Jacobs. He could kill you.
I'm dead either way. Never was partial to a bullet. Closed camera feeds. If my death is caught on film, I don't want to give them the satisfaction.
Already done. And sir, good luck.
Oh, snap, dude. This is gonna be amazing. Woo!
I will be conducting a mandatory interview with the SCP designated as 049, also known as the Plague Doctor.
The Plague
This
Doctor.
interview is taking place at the Bridge Facility, July 27th, 2018. Due to the nature of containment and history thereof with the subject, your cooperation in these proceedings is required under penalty of any and all privileges being revoked. Do you understand the terms?
It's good to see you again, Administrative Oversight Jacobs. Pleasant to encounter a familiar face.
Good voice
Site
acting.
Director, answer the question.
Sounds so awesome.
Oui, avez-vous bien de ce qui pourrait entendre?
Non. Et tu peux parler anglais.
As you wish.
Speak only
Come
English,
to
okay.
another service of me. You promised me a worthwhile test subject last time.
He had to meet his end elsewhere.
More's the pity. In him I sensed so much of the pestilence building.
Who is he talking about?
His very DNA.
It's been so
corrupting
long.
all life around him. If I remember correctly, it was your offer of Mr. Lambert's body that brought your delay from undergoing my procedure.
Unless you want to go fishing in an acid bath to find it, I wouldn't get your hopes up that that promise will ever be fulfilled.
Now the years have passed. My list of patients grows stale, and the pestilence has made a meal of you. It festers even now, greater than any I've witnessed before. You won't be able to buy your way out this time, my friend.
I know.
However, I am willing to entertain your notion of an interview, for old time's sake.
Oh,
Mostly
man.
for the infected.
It's about to get good.
That's not like you, Doctor.
Call it a mellowing of nature, or the smell of lavender from your breast pocket. I'm feeling indulgent.
Okay. Okay.
Let's start from the beginning, shall we? How did you come to be taught about the Great Pestilence? Did anyone teach you the skills you currently possess? Where did it come from?
The great pestilence is older than you could possibly comprehend.
Any chance I could get some actual details?
It is a factual enough answer.
It's evasive and only the first goddamn question. I know! I know. Look, I'll make this simple. Answer me appropriately, and you don't spend the rest of containment in a 1-by-1 cell.
You drive a hard bargain. Very well. No. I had no pedagogue to instruct me on the ways of the pestilence, nor the intricacies of treatment. What has been gleaned has all been derived from personal interactions and studies, or was, until my access to resources was unwisely stemmed.
What of its origins?
Ah, now that is a mystery I cannot help but be vague with.
Okay.
Wherefore, indeed, theories abound, but none are set in stone. Judging from how intertwined the pestilence is with its victims, tied directly into every molecule and fiber. Most, if not all, life upon this world is infected. Carried from birth, it seems. So it may be hereditary.
If it's as old as you claim, why hasn't it mutated into something more lethal?
Right.
Why haven't we been wiped out?
That is not the nature of the pestilence. It cannot exist without a host. Like any virus, it must maintain its ecosystem. But the changes are small, unnoticeable, minuscule. Perhaps it existed within the primordial soup from which life first erupted into being, piggybacking off the first sentient creatures to take root on Earth.
Right.
Mayhaps an offshoot of some prehistoric or Neolithic variant of human ancestry, interbreeding with a deformity, creating a sequence of genes that retroactively attack and overwhelm its host.
Layman's terms, Doctor.
Or has the pestilence merely become unavoidable, where all infants are born pure, but immediately exposed to its effects through contact and dreams? Too young and indefensible to protect themselves, they wouldn't stand a chance. Would a single party benefit from a virus such as this? Is it a means for control, or an exertion of power?
What does any of that mean?
It means what it has always meant.
Like what? What is it?
Behind all the theorizing and contemplation, my eons of study, I don't know.
But how did you come into contact with it? You must have had a first patient.
And like most in my profession, each and every one bleeds together. I recall minute details. A solitary merchant on the road, desperately clinging to his wares for safety. Twin sisters, barely alive in desperate need of relief. Their parents, lords, queens, nobles, and peasants. Rich, poor, disenfranchised, well-to-do. An ocean of patience.
I get the picture. You must remember where it all began for you.
An overgrown cottage on the outskirts of a decrepit, battle-worn castle. I had been passing by on my way from... I cannot recall.
Hey guys, sorry I'm not speaking. I know I've been saying this in a lot of videos, but yo, this is so interesting that I'm just speechless right now. Cause I'm just like I'm really listening, you know? I'm just really listening. And I know some of you guys are like, yeah, man, good, you're listening. Less talk, more listen.
When I was flagged down by a distressed servant to a prince. Healers were scarce in the region, and so my services were desperately sought. The prince's bride had been struck with an ailment of unknown origin, and her life was feared in jeopardy. However, upon reaching the hut, separated from the rest of the court to keep the illness from spreading, I discovered the source.
Origin of the pestilence?
Uh-oh.
Not quite. While her ailment was severe, his was far greater. The symptoms were present, if subdued, but I felt a great well of pestilence within. Not the source, but a carrier, capable of spreading it far and wide. I could not allow any of them to refuse treatment. I would go against any ethical code I hold dear.
You killed them all.
Cured them all. First the cottage, then the castle. They were willing at first, but much like yourself, they were displeased with the results. They opted to flee and burn the castle, with myself and their healed brethren trapped inside. They thought much like you, that I create monsters from the ill. That is the farthest from the truth. I create life. It is not I who destroys what they do not understand, and it was here that I learned that in order to achieve what must be done to eradicate the pestilence, I would have to be as ruthless as I am dedicated.
And look where that's got you.
Exactly where I need to be.
Yo, listening to him actually explain this, it's like it changes my whole look on, about him. Like, I just think of him differently. Like, I always thought, man, I don't think he's ever evil. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he was ever an evil, SCP. Ever. I never thought that. Because, I mean, like, he's just looking for a cure. And we're just seeing it through our eyes. But we wasn't ever looking at everything through his eyes. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I may be wrong. But he does seem like a bad person at all, especially after one of the last ones I seen with 096. He ain't bad at all, man. He ain't.
Here is where I can best influence the outcome of the pestilence's spread.
I try to be his friend.
Given the power to do so.
I'll straight up try to be his friend.
Are you immune to the pestilence?
I am more than well equipped to prevent the strain being passed on to me.
That wasn't my question. Are you immune to the pestilence? Have you been infected since birth like the rest of us? Or have you managed to whip up some kind of miracle cure just for yourself?
I'm not sure I understand the meaning of your inquiry.
You've said every living thing on Earth has this thing. According to you, I have it. Yet I don't feel anything wrong with me.
An insidious virus, is it not?
That's not what we're talking about. Focus, 049.
My apologies. But
Don't
your
piss 'em
words aren't
off.
making much sense. It borders on incoherent babbling.
Christ, you're as bad as my ex.
Pardon?
Never mind. Once more. You've maintained all organic
he
life carries
tiptoed.
the pestilence,
He tiptoed around the question.
correct?
That would be an accurate
Maintained all...
Let's go back.
Never mind. Once more. You've maintained all organic life carries the pestilence, correct?
That would be an accurate assumption.
You've also theorized that it lays semi-dormant within us from an early age, childhood.
Not altogether correct, but yes, this is a valid conclusion.
Then if you too were born as helpless as other children exposed, would that not also make you a carrier?
I do
know.
not believe so.
Well, why not? You're just as likely as anyone else, by your own logic.
But
That
he's
is untrue. I
This is-
possess many methods of combating infection.
Yes, now you do. But what about before?
I do not understand what you're saying. This is nonsense.
As nonsensical as a sick
No,
doctor
no.
treating patients just as
I think
ill as
you're
he is?
irritating him.
If you are infected, aren't you more likely to spread this pestilence rather than contain it? Is it possible that the only reason you find it wherever you go is because it follows you?
Stop. Stop. Cease this. I'm willing to answer your queries, but as part of an interview, not an inquisition. Is that understood?
Yo. Yo. I knew he was getting irritated or something.
Despite appearing to be wearing a medieval plague doctor's uniform, our studies have determined your clothing is made from muscle and skin tissue. In other words, it's all part of your anatomy. My question is, how is this possible?
That, my dear acquaintance, depends upon your perspective.
Well,
Any good doctor must single out a diagnosis in order to treat a patient. Given several indications, one has led to a conclusion, and thus the road to a cure. But in order to walk the proper path of healing, one must be sure they are tracing the cause, and not the symptom.
Right.
which one are you then? The cause or the symptom?
Et donc, L'étudiant devient le maître.
The student becomes the
How
master.
does that saying go? Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. It astounds me how similar in mentality humanity is to a virus. How eager you are to assimilate another simply because you can. You excuse it through reason or feeling. But all the same, you carry out your shared function without fail.
Are you saying that plague doctors were inspired by you?
I can hardly call what those imposters became an inspiration. A virus would not be so if it were not for its imperfections. In its attempt to impersonate, the virus is unable to change one perdurable difference: itself. An imitation is still an imitation, no matter how many skins you wear, what reasons to justify your appearance. To say they lost sight of the importance of my work is to imply they even understood that concept in the first place.
Wow. Okay,
They didn't believe you.
They watched, they learned, and then they left. To cure colds and coughs and broken bones. Insignificant in the wake of such destruction as the pestilence presents. These doctors call themselves men of science, but elect to ignore the enormous catastrophe waiting on the doorstep. Why would I associate myself with such blind stupidity?
And yet, their blind stupidity has created a wealth of knowledge in the ways of treating the ill, not just with medicine, but dignity. From the Dark Ages, new science has brought about the health and well-being of billions across centuries of study. Is that not a thing to be proud of?
And in their ignorance, have merely healed the sick in order to further propagate the pestilence, prolonging the inevitable downfall.
Right.
All your treatments and advances are meaningless, buying you only temporary respite.
Right.
What good is dignity in medicine against the wrath of the pestilence?
Then again, that's not what my question was about. You're very eager to remain ignorant of the subject at hand, 049. Are you afraid to answer?
Ridiculous.
Then answer me.
I am as such because I was born as such. Do humans question their own anatomy? Do they claim awareness of life before Neanderthal? Do you hold any perception of time before birth, before life, before creation? Do you know, or do you rely on observation and history to write the past for you?
Right.
You don't know. Hell of a roundabout way of saying as much. But we know something of your anatomy. Your skeletal structure, though enveloped in this, is still human. Is it possible you were human at some point?
Flesh is still flesh, regardless of its shape. While the bones lay the foundations, the rest of the structure is influenced by its environment, tailored to best suit its needs.
Are you saying you're like this because of evolution?
Evolution.
I would not label myself as such. What I am saying is that my construction, indifferent of similar traits, was made to carry out a singular purpose. And that is my only concern.
Okay. Yo, I'm
Are you
learning
the
a lot.
only one of your kind?
Of doctors?
No. Of you. Beings like you.
If there are, or ever have been, we have never encountered one another. Nor have I particularly dedicated myself to finding out the answer to your question.
You've never been curious at all? Finding out whether or not you are truly the only one of your kind.
My kind, as you put it, rests less on the physiognomy of my person and more upon the practice. My kind are men of science, logic, and reason. Medical practitioners, not species. Since it is quite clear any biological classification would be useless given my own personal lack of health issues, I have no use for one. I am not diagnosing myself.
How very selfless of you. I suppose we would have encountered another by now, if there were more of you in the world. Perish the thought. Well, instead of another of your race, what about colleagues or assistants?
Ah,
Have
yeah.
you
Has he
had
ever
an
had any?
apprentice?
Anybody? A student?
Several over the last millennia and a half. Some who remained after the rest abandoned my work. Others who followed after witnessing my prowess in the field. The countless lives I had saved was not unnoticed by a few. They had their uses, in spite of their impediments.
You mean despite the fact they carried the pestilence?
They groveled at the opportunity to stand by my side and help absolve humanity of this plague.
Are you sure they weren't begging for their lives, whatever it took to keep it?
The chance to pass on my knowledge to a willing party is not an opportunity to squander. I had hoped, given time, their fear would be converted into understanding. That my work takes precedent over all other worldly concerns, and therefore all methods in its treatment were necessary.
And, pray tell, what was the success rate for these students becoming enlightened?
Ultimately, neon.
Sounds disappointing.
Your sarcasm is poorly concealed.
I shall have to try harder next time. Do all of these people bleed together, as did your patients, or are there one or two that stood out above the rest?
Yolanda.
Yolanda? Who's she?
She must have been special.
I rested more hope on her than any before or since. None truly seemed to grasp the pestilence as well as she. Her family had lost their battle with another sickness spreading across Europe at the time, but Yolanda had managed to avoid contamination. She crawled out of the filth like a rat, and despite the pestilence's grasp on her, something within me stayed my hand. I sensed a higher purpose for her, and she was willing to follow.
Jesus, how old was she?
I am not certain. I do not tend to judge by a specific age, but she was a child, make no mistake.
What? She was a
showed remarkable resilience both in survival instinct and mentality.
She was a
The things
kid?
she saw with me, traveling
Or-
together for nearly a decade, would have broken most men's minds. And her senses in detecting the pestilence impressed even me.
She could see it?
Oh yes, she could identify exactly who had it in a room, with absolute accuracy.
According to you, that's everyone.
But
Dude,
she
this-
believed. We would sit and discuss the pestilence by a fire. She even taught me to appreciate the clarity of a mind after a well-cooked meal. I hadn't eaten food until she had came along.
Yo.
Yes,
Just someone I knew. They're gone now.
the infamous interviewer. I've heard whispers of his exploits.
What happened to
I
him?
could not have made its acquaintance.
What happened to him?
It would have made a most interesting study.
Is he in prison?
Anyway, you
Yo, what happened to him? I forgot what happened to the previous guy. He was taken away.
were saying?
I sensed in Yolanda unease. She was no longer a child, and through her life had seen much exposure
To the pestilence.
to humanity. The logical, impartial side of her was giving way to a sympathetic soul who saw her patients as more than just that. She was growing attached, and it was interfering with the necessity of our work. More and more she began to question the path she had chosen, and the expressions she made around the surgical table grew coarser. Sometimes I feel morality can be as deadly a plague as the worst of them.
Morality keeps people from forgetting that all life is important.
But then, on the other hand, too, you can get distracted from what your job is, all because of morality is what the plague doctor is pretty much trying to say, I'm assuming.
Your ethics are how you enact
It's
them.
getting in the way of
All
what's
life
important.
is important.
Right?
Of course I know that.
Correct.
But there are things that must be done to ensure survival that...
Everything you do is morally wrong.
See? Just what he was just saying. He was trying to say that doing that, your morals can get in the way of other things. You know what I'm saying? Get in the way of work. And work is work. You're there to do it. Don't get your morals, mixed up.
It goes against everything doctors stand for. Can't you see just how much you have hurt people?
And you are in a position to judge over me. When we first met, you attempted to elicit me into murder. From what I understand, we SCP are little more than refuse disposal to you. What I do is selfless, a cause to benefit all mankind and beyond. You kill for your own benefit.
Do you think it's what I want? Lambert was a threat to us both. And I am always under the Council's thumb.
Just following orders.
Where's your morality? Where's your morals? Where's your morals then? Right? He's like contradicting. You see? Now the interviewer is like, where's your morals then? What about your morals? You know what I'm saying? Now you're just saying it's your job, right? See, he's this plague doctor is he flipped the script on him easy without him interview even knowing.
I've walked many battlefields in my lifetime. Atrocities you wouldn't even imagine, left out in the open for all the world to see. Survivors on both sides would crawl to me with what little strength they had left and beg. It wasn't my fault. I was just following instructions. They were the enemy. I have no enemy. All are patients in my eyes but you. You're just one more in a long line of monsters, excusing your crimes on the basis of following orders. Do you deny this?
No.
Admitting the problem exists is the first step to finding the cure.
And what about Yolanda? What became of her?
We happened upon a village in the midst of an epidemic. I wanted to administer my cure, but Yolanda insisted on an alternative treatment for their current ailments. She was turning into one of those who had betrayed me and lost their way. I admit to feeling disappointment in her, especially as she forbade me from curing them. She said she would keep me from them, no matter the cost.
Did you leave?
No, she had not outlived the pestilence's influence, nor moralities. I had to stop it there. Her. Then the town. It was not an enjoyable experience, but it had to be done. The calling demands it.
Following orders.
Alrighty, guys. Without further ado, you already know, man, what to do. Hit that like and subscribe, and I already said that, but yeah. How'd you guys like that? It was a little bit longer. It was like 3 minutes longer than 20 that I said, but hey, man, just having a good time. So, yeah, that right there was awesome. Shout outs to you, Tats Top Videos, for making this amazing video, yo. Oh my gosh, yo. Tats Top Videos be making many of the most amazing SCP videos out there, yo. Come on, guys. So without further ado, once again, hit that like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.